What's up there, workforce? Chris here with Work to Game, and I want to talk a little bit about why the devs are not listening. And I don't just mean this in Final Fantasy's context, but that is going to be where I'm talking from. It is true across the board. We feel it when we talk about any gaming studio eventually, especially with large games, especially that are part of franchised properties that have a history. So looking at WoW, looking at sequels, looking at anything like that where it has been going in a while, either multiple game titles or one game title that's continued to be supported, we eventually feel that they're not listening. And first of all, the part of this that says that it's just greed, they want to pay their bills. And I know Brian has just talked about this in a recent video. We all go to work. That is literally like saying that every job I've ever had, I only did for the money. Now, yes, I wasn't going to do any of those jobs for free, but I had an opportunity to go out there and seek employment in certain fields, and you made a choice. You made a choice where to apply. You made a choice what job to take. You made a choice to show up each day. You made a choice to stay. And yes, you may have done it for the money, but hopefully that job is giving you some form of satisfaction, or at least was acting as the best of the options available to you at that time. And if those options change, you may change to the best of those options. And so to say that they work on this game only for money, well, yeah, they're only going to work at studios that pay them. 100%. And studios are only going to make games that don't make them go out of business. 100%. But to say that they cannot be passionate about their player base, passionate about their game, and that they don't do this because they love it is just patently false. It's just ridiculous. I have met multiple friends who have worked in the gaming industry, and many of them have had to take pay cuts to take those jobs because the job knows, hey, we only have so much budget because that's where it's at, and people are willing to do this job for that amount of money. So if you don't do it, I'll hire somebody that is willing to do it for this amount of money. And the reason there are other people lined up around the block to take less money than you for this job is because they want the job too. And so they actively take pay cuts because they could go do a job that was really boring and doing something they were less passionate about because it paid more. But they said, you know what, I want to work on games. And a lot of times at these historic companies, you look at game companies that have been around as long as a Square Enix or some of these other developers. Maybe your favorite developer of all time is Ubisoft, Bethesda, maybe you're a Blizzard fan, right? And whatever it is, you may have had a dream to always work there because of the impact that their previous titles have had on you as a person and as a gamer. And so when you get there, if their offer is $5,000 less than the studio you've never heard of, you may take it because it's where you've always wanted to work. It's your dream. And so to say that they don't like this, I just feel is already demeaning and saying that they just hate games. And they're just like, well, I hope to goodness I don't like it. But it also doesn't make sense at a money level, because if I sell lemonade for a living, but I hate lemons, but I sell lemonade, it is still in my best interest to make the best lemonade, especially for what lemonade drinkers like, because that's what they're going to buy. So even if we just view it from a greed perspective, which is not the sole perspective of how games are made, it doesn't make sense that they just want to ruin the game for money. What? It doesn't add up. If they wanted to make the most money, they would make a really good game and then charge you a lot of money for it. Or they'd make a really good game with a cool glamour system and then build glamour so cool you couldn't help but buy them. Oh my gosh, I had to spend $100 because it was just my favorite thing ever. Well, no, you didn't. It was optional, and you did it because it's awesome. So if greed is the sole thing, we still get a good product. If I go and get surgery tomorrow, I don't care if that doctor wants to do it because he likes getting paid a lot, or he likes helping people, or it makes him feel powerful, or it makes him feel smart, or he likes the challenge. I don't care as long as I come out healthy. I'm not meeting with him and I'm like, well, I really wish your motivations were a little bit different, so I think I'm going to go with the worst doctor. What? So that's the first problem with that argument, that the devs are not listening. The second problem is that we forget how big these games are. If you went to school in the United States in the public school system, odds are your graduating class was somewhere between a dozen people in a really small town and, let's say, 5,000 people at a really big high school. There are probably high schools bigger than that, but let's just put it there. I graduated between 1,000 and 2,000 people. Every high school in my area, I think mine was like 1,400, and so that's a lot of people. That's a lot of kids, right? And so if there's 4 years and the school system's growing, you actually have more than 4 times that number. So let's say out of 1,400 people, let's say that puts them at 7 or 8 or even 10,000 kids in my school district. that are in high school at that time. Let's assume that those families all have siblings that are not in high school. They're either older or younger than those kids. Okay, cool. Let's put them at an average of maybe 2.5 kids per household. Let's assume that there's 2 parents in every household, just to get the most people possible. So let's go ahead and round that 2.5 up to 3. They've got 3 siblings, which is way higher than the national average, and they've got 2 parents in every single household, right? So there's 5 additional people. So for those 7, let's call it 10,000 kids. We're trying to get to as big a number as possible here. 10,000 kids. Let's multiply it to add in for that other 5 people per household. So now there's 6 people per household, one of which is in my high school system, which is at 10,000 people, even though there were only 3 high schools and I graduated in 1400. All right, cool. So we've got our 10,000. We've multiplied it by 6 to account for the high school kid and his 5 family members. In this scenario, we've got 60,000 people. Well, that's a lot of people. 60,000 people. That's starting to be a significant number of a city. That's starting to be, something that could build a lot of suburbs. That you could talk about a lot of employment. You could fuel box stores, grocery stores, gas stations. You could have, religious buildings like churches pop up. You could have parks. You could have football leagues. You could have all kinds of stuff pop up around that. These games are dealing in players by the millions. They are so much bigger than that. Conservative estimates can put WoW in 14 at a 500,000 active player base on launch day easily of an expansion. So you're representing millions of players. And there are people out there that think that Final Fantasy right now has 1 million active players out of 10 million active accounts in a given day. So everybody's logging in once every 10 days, I guess. And so we've got our 1 million active players. Let's assume that that number is false, but that 1 million players is represented across WoW, Guild Wars, Final Fantasy, ESO, EVE Online, right? That's 5 games. We probably are at least at 1 million players actively. 1 million is so much bigger than 60,000, it's not even funny. Now let's take those people, and because they're not all from my town of, whatever. I grew up in a town that 1400 class was actually generated by a city of 250 to 330,000 people. Based on kind of what, as I grew up, that's the range that it spanned. So you're talking about building 40 of my cities, in some of these cases, when you start talking about 10 million active accounts. At 1 million active players, 250,000, there's 4 of my cities actively logging on at the same time every day. That is insanity. So they span across the world. They span cultures. They span languages. They sure as hell span what they want to do with their time. Some of them like PvP. Some of them would never even try it, even if you paid them. Some of them like glamour systems. They want pets. They want mounts. They want cool looking armor. Some of them have never even noticed that you could do that. Some of them want the best gear, and they'll do anything for it. They'll go into savages, ultimates, extremes. Some people will not even play with other people. I log on because I like that I can see other people playing. I like exploring their houses, and I like that there's a market board. But I really just want to decorate my own stuff and play by myself, and I'm really excited about the trust system. Some people play to craft. Some people play to gather. Now, many people spread across multiple of these buckets. They do seek achievements. Other people don't, right? So this game, if we divide this game out into 20, 30, 40, 50 different categories of stuff you can do, you're not going to pick from all 50, and I'm not going to pick from the same group you picked from. So now we take this 1 million active players, and let's assume that you're a pessimist about 14, that you believe that it's the worst MMO of all time, and only 10% of that population is playing it. Okay, 100,000 people. Cool. Many of them don't feedback on forums. They don't feedback in the game. They don't go to the conferences. They don't take part in a community like a free company, anything like that. They don't take part in a Discord community. They don't go read the patch notes. They just log on and play their thing and mind their own business. Okay, well, there's no way to satisfy those people because we have no feedback mechanism. I can't hear you. If you don't interact with me in any way, there's no way for me to know. You've never logged on to Reddit about this game. You've never interacted on a forum. How could I possibly listen if you've never talked? Okay, well, that's not the people that they're not satisfying. Those people are satisfied not being represented. All right, great. Let's assume that's 90% of the population, which I don't think it is. Now this 10% that wants everything, that's still 10,000 people that picked from different buckets, in different orders, in different priorities. They have different amounts of time to play. They have different amounts of experience. Some of them have played multiple MMOs. Some of them, this is their first one. Some of them played games for 20 years. Some of them, they just got their first gaming computer. And it's not that great. Right? Some people want this game to be more mobile. I wish I could log in from anywhere. I wish it would come to my Switch and I could just hook in at work. Some people, I only want to play on my gaming rig. And I want it in 4K. And in less than 120 frames a second is junk. There are so many desires represented. So now this 10,000 people are all going to each submit one suggestion. Just one. There's only one thing you want. And it's your favorite thing. And if they would do that, if they would make Vieira, a race you've never gotten to play as a bunny before, male, you would play this game 25,000 hours. No questions asked. And you'd gladly pay for it. Awesome. That's your one. Put it in the token. You know, put it in the hat. And they're going to take these 10,000 and they're going to draw out 10 things a day and they're going to instantly implement them. Instantly. Okay? Totally instantly. Let's do the math here. 10,000. They're going to divide by 10. So we've got 1,000. 1,000 is what? 3 years? So 1,000 divided by 365 days. It's 2.7 years. An expansion comes out every 2 years. So not even once every expansion do they get to do your one thing. It is impossible. It is impossible to satisfy everybody. It can't be done. So what do they do instead? Well, they listen to the general feeling. They listen to things and they say, what could we implement that would reach out to multiple of your suggestions? We noticed in the hat that, you know, yes, some of you wanted a new male race and some of you wanted a new female race and some of you wanted new bunnies and some of you wanted new lion people. Well, we came out with male lion people because that's lore appropriate. We came out with female bunny people because that's lore appropriate. Cool, maybe that'll satisfy those 4 suggestions. But they're not doing 10 a day. They can't implement them that fast. That is impossible. So it's not that they don't want to listen. It's not that they're not trying to listen. It's that they want to protect the quality of the game and not change it so much so fast that they get something just terribly, drastically wrong. They do want to take risks. We see them do it. They took a risk with the limited job system. They took a risk with the way Eureka works versus previous Relic systems. That was a pretty big departure. It took parts of what they thought was working about Diadem, and it took parts of what they thought was working about previous Relic systems, and parts of what people were requesting out of 11, and it said, here you go. And it had very mixed results. It did. They have tried so many things, and they will continue to try so many things, and what they want is you to like the game. Even the CFO that's bitter and hates it, and I don't know if Square Enix has one, but say there is a guy who's just a bean counter and he just wants to move beans from one side of the counter to the other, and I just want to make sure that the numbers are adding up and that we're making a lot of money, and I don't even care that this is a gaming company, it's just the job I got, and I just want it to make a lot of money. They still want the game to be good enough that people pay to play it. So they are listening, they are trying, and I think that the live letter having people say, well, they're disconnected, doesn't make any sense. Why would they even have a live letter if they didn't care what we thought? It costs them money to have these fan fests. They have these open dialogues with the community because they want feedback. It's literally like when people say to a YouTuber or a streamer, will you just do this for the views? No. You're totally misunderstanding. I went out and I bought a webcam and I bought a microphone here, and then I acquired editing software which I learned how to use, and I sat down and I thought about what I wanted to say, and I made sure that I felt that I was as educated as I wanted to be on this topic, and I thought of what I wanted to say, and I talked in a room where there's nobody around, and then I sat down and I edited it, and then I uploaded it to the internet. I really hope nobody sees it. Like it doesn't make any sense. So, like, do I think that there are bad actors out there? Yes. Do I think that games get it wrong? Yes. Do I think that games sometimes think that one group of people's voices represent what everybody wants, and it's not quite right? Yes. And those games fail. Destiny 2 thought that they were onto something great. I don't think they were developing the game and like, man, people are going to hate this. This is really going to upset them. Cannot wait to see people get pissed and quit. No, they thought they had a great game. They thought they were listening. They were trying to listen. They were trying to get out in front of an industry and change it and make the greatest game of all time. That's what they wanted. They were wrong. So the people at Square Enix are doing the very same thing. Yoshi P and his entire team are listening the best they can to way too many voices in way too many languages across way too many time zones, asking for way too many different things. And they are doing their best to satisfy as many as they can and keep true to their values and what they picture this game being, that they love so much. And they found a community that loves so much. And these people come out in cosplay and otherwise to these events every other year that they hold around the world just to be passionate. And we log on at ridiculous hours because live letters sometimes fall that way. And we watch these things and we go out and we seek out YouTubers and Reddit threads and streamers just to be part of something that's really got some really neat and great gems to it. Well, I love Final Fantasy for so many reasons. They frustrate me to no end in areas where I'm like, but you're right there. I mean, it's literally like somebody came in and picked up all the dirty dishes in your kitchen and did them and just left one cup on the counter. Why? Like, you're so close. I appreciate your effort, and I do, and thank you. But like, you couldn't do the one. And so there are times that they do the world for me, right? They metaphorically clean all the dishes. They do everything we've asked. They've entertained us hours on end. And it's easy to say, but in the market board, when somebody undercuts me and I'm checking the history and I see the comparables and there's one lower than mine, I can't right click and buy it right then. Why? Why does the party finder not have the one feature I want? Why is that one cutscene not skippable? Why can I not go back and watch that one cutscene later? Why are you pairing me with this one player? Why? There are a lot of times we have questions. Why is the PvP queue so long? There are a lot of questions we have and critiques we have. And Brian made a whole video about how he had fears that certain trends within it were going to hurt this game long term. This game that he likes and he cares about. And I just don't think that that's a sign that they're not listening. It's just a sign that we haven't totally lined up yet. And I don't know that we ever will. You know, they'll come out with 20 new features and they'll blow my mind. And I'll wish that there was a 21st. Or that one of those 20 features worked just a little bit differently. But for every person on my side of that one issue, there's somebody else on the other side that wishes it worked just a little bit different that way. And so their solution may be a perfect blend between us, and I just don't know that. I just don't see that. We don't see the long-term trajectory with this game. We don't see the technical hurdles they have. Is the reason they're doing World Visit now that they're moving towards just having data centers and not servers? And effectively, you just log on and you never have wait times. And it's always more stable. And the market board has way more items on it so that you can always find what you're looking for at a fair price and you can always find somebody to buy your stuff because it's just catering to more servers. Are they trying to make the game better? Yes. Are they going to tell us everything? No, because what if that doesn't work out? What if they run that and they're like, no, that's totally going to ruin things. And they change their mind. So they don't want to get us excited about something that they're going to pull back when it doesn't work. But yes, I think they're probably working on things they haven't told us about. I think they probably already know what the 0.1 has in it. I think they probably already know what 0.2 has in it. I think they probably already know a little bit about what 0.3 has in it. It's possible that they have a rough outline for every single patch through the expansion after Shadowbringers. 100%. It's possible they have the story outline for that long out. It's possible. I don't think they should tell us, and I think that we should give them a little bit more slack when we see them making serious efforts. Do we need to offer feedback when they get it wrong in our opinion? Yes, because they are listening. But do we need to expect the whole world to come to a screeching halt? Because my point of view is the most intelligent, most well-rounded, best view of everybody else's, and I think everybody should think like me. That's an unrealistic expectation. Final Fantasy XIV is a big, beautiful, wonderful game that a lot of very passionate people work very hard on. And it may not always be perfect, and it may not, more importantly, always be perfect for you, but it is always headed towards what they feel makes the game better and stronger for the future. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. Are they listening? I think yes. I think that explains kind of why I think they're listening, why it's in their best interest to listen, and why it sometimes feels like they're not. I would love to hear from you guys down below. I really appreciate a lot of the positivity. I appreciate comments even when they are just like, you know, oh, I don't like what you guys think, or I don't like what you guys say, or I don't like this change. I really appreciate the comments down below. They're almost always positive and constructive, and they're a joy to read, even when you're telling me why I'm wrong or telling me that I need to get better at something. I get it. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you next time. Hey you, especially if you're a new face, welcome to the workforce. If you want to hit that subscribe button to say you like us, we'd really appreciate it. But there's a little bell next to it if you really like a channel, and you can go ahead and hit that if you'd like to be notified. Be sure that if that thing lets you know, hey, do you always want to be notified, or you just sometimes want to be notified, that you tell it, oh man, I actually meant by notified, notified. So why don't you give that a click, and we hope to see you around in our next video.